Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ekolona, and this is Nashville. Fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh meat, straight from the farm, even handmade crafts. These are some of the things you can purchase at a local farmer's market. And a lot of people do. Buying locally sourced food is a good way to ensure that you are getting good quality food. It also helps keep precious dollars in the local economy. So today we're going to learn more about the farmers markets in our area. And what better way than to start with a farmer who provides fresh food and produce to eager patrons. Michael Bradford is a farmer and co-owner of Una Acre Farm. I'd like to welcome him to This Is Nashville. Mike, thanks for being here.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. This is a big thrill. We're very excited and really thank you for having a really important conversation about an important topic that we care a lot about.
We appreciate you being here as well. Okay, so you're a farmer now, but this wasn't really the place that you thought you'd end up in, right?
That's very true. If you had told me even a few years ago that I was a full-time farmer in Nashville, I would have laughed perhaps. But yes, my wife, in fact, is a chef turned into a farmer. So she was doing some farm-to-table stuff for some clients and then decided she was done with the table and just wanted to focus on the farm. And we bought a small house in Madison on an acre of land, and she single-handedly turned it into the business and founded our company, the Una Acre Farm. And it wasn't until she broke her foot last year and was going to maybe suffer the consequences of shutting the business down that I kind of strayed away from my former career and dove in head first.
What was your former career?
I worked in the publishing business. Most specifically, I've kind of lived a million lives, Khalil.
Okay.
Been all over the world, been all over the map, but most specifically in the publishing world.
What did you think about farming at the time when your wife is like, okay, honey, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to start this farm.
It really was magical because, again, she started in our own garden. And the very first sale she ever made was just on a picnic table she put out in the front yard, and some local neighbors walked by and started buying it. So I was fascinated by the process. It's an enormously rewarding experience to actually put the work in and see the literal fruits of your labor. Sorry for the bad pun, but
It's all right.
And you know, it's just a wonderful way to make a life and to make a living and to understand that it was possible was one of these revelatory moments for me last year.
Okay, so tell me about that. You had to take over the bulk of the farming duties, publishing to farming, two different skill sets, definitely different hours. What was it like for you making that adjustment?
Yeah, and I guess I can't tip my hat enough to my wife being kind of there as the guiding principle, and I certainly wouldn't say that I took on all the responsibilities, but just while her foot was broken, she was able to kind of point me in the right direction and get me started on all the things that I'd sort of kind of seen her do but not paid too close attention to, for lack of a better way of saying it. But she's amazing at showing me the way of how we do things, and we follow all organic principles. We're a no-till organic produce farm. We also sell flowers there. And using those types of practices it gets you closer to the earth. It gets you closer to the soil, which is the primary source of where all this stuff comes from. So understanding through agronomists and through soil reports and how we do everything, it was a huge learning curve. But obviously with my wife's expertise, it made it a lot easier.
Would your wife say you're a good farmhand?
Gosh, at first, probably not. Let's be honest, Khalil. We've been married 9 years. We're honest with each other. So not at first. But I think, again, the learning curve was pretty steep. And it's been a wild ride, and it's been really successful this last year.
So tell me about Una Acre Farm. What do you grow there?
Sure. So we really grow everything. In fact, I learned by jumping in last year. I took some business classes for farming online over Zoom over the winter to learn that our type of farming is called specialty crop farming. It just means that we're not a monoculture farm that just does soy or just does corn. We really do everything. Right now, brassicas have come out this spring. So think of anything from cauliflower to broccoli, broccolini, cabbages of various different varieties, spring onions, lettuces, but it goes through the seasons and they change. So whatever's in season, we had a great sugar snap pea harvest and people really were excited about those, popping them in their mouth before they left the market.
Yeah.
And as well as, tomatoes and peppers and all those things that will come in the summer. We're excited because those plants are starting to bear fruit now.
Okay, so your wife starts the farm. You help her out with the farm. Talk to me about this transition to actually selling your product in farmers markets. How do you get involved with that?
Sure. So that actually started years ago. We've been at Amqui Station Farmers Market in Madison, Tennessee for the last 3 years. In fact, Amqui Station Farmers Market is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. It's a really spectacular market there in Madison, Tennessee. It's only 4 miles away from our farm. So it was a really great opportunity for us to stay super local as producers, meet local neighbors, and sell to them locally. And that started 3 years ago. Even when I was transitioning from my other career, I helped on the nights and weekends. So we're a Sunday market at Amqui Station Farmers Market. It's the only market in town that does actually operate on Sunday. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Sunday. And in fact, at Amqui, it's rain or shine. We have a fantastic little train station that's been converted into a museum and an event space for the local community as well as a farmer's market. And there is a covered pavilion. So folks, come on down on Sundays from 10 to 1 because we are going to be there, stock full of veggies as well as other vendors with their goods. But we have a covered pavilion and a market outside.
How early are you showing up?
Gosh, to set up the market.
Yeah.
That's a funny question. It used to be, before we were as well prepared as we are now, that I think we got there 2 hours before market and we were barely there set up by the time the market started because frantically getting all the bits and pieces together. But we've honed in our practices. So I think we get there about an hour still, an hour and a half before. So there's some prep time.
So you guys have gotten a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, now any successful farm is going to be very attractive to pollinators. You mentioned that you all sell flowers there as well. So is that what you do to keep the pollinators, sorry for the bad pun, buzzing?
No, I love it. In fact, the flowers were something that my wife had always had on the farm, and because to keep the bees happy, to keep the pollinators moving through the vegetables, and she would cut the flowers and bring them to market as a display. And people started asking, can we buy these? And she said no only so many times before we realized, hey, there's something here. And knowing that my wife has also been involved with a number of female farmers in the neighborhood that are really dynamic mentors to her that also sell flowers as well. And we realized that was an opportunity for us. And so when we brought the flowers to market, we decided last year that was something we really wanted to focus on. And it did really well. So we've planted more flowers and are bringing more to market each Sunday.
All right. Now, my next guest knows all about pollinators. Gretchen Trask is the co-founder of the Honey Collective, a beekeeping cooperative that sells at the East Nashville Farmers Market. Gretchen, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so how did you become interested in beekeeping?
I think I've always held an interest. I did some, interned on a farm and, realized that there is this more extensive ecosystem to, having food and keeping our communities healthy. But I had the chance to, help develop the cooperative with my co-founders, Haynes Motzinger and Ian Daw. And I was like, hey, I'll join if you teach me how to beekeep. And that's sold me.
Okay. So how does one become a beekeeper? What are the suggested steps?
Yeah. So the beekeeping community is really strong. So often there is a local beekeeping organization in Nashville. It's called the Nashville Area Beekeepers Association, so NABA. But there's also one in Columbia, Wilson County, et cetera. So finding those folks is great, or finding also, a local beekeeper like us, because if you can start there, get your bearings, you'll order your bees typically, or you'll buy them from a local beekeeper. They call those a nuke. Mm-hmm. And through that process, the best way to be successful and winterize your bees is to find a mentor. So part of that, networking, embedding yourself in the community, is the best way to get started.
What kind of gear do you need?
So you need your suit, obviously. Yes. And then, the equipment to house the bees. There's different types of hives. So there could be some use Langstroth hives. So those are the ones that are very traditional or typical. They're the rectangle ones. But there's also top bar hives and other types. But then you need your smoker, and you need your hive tool and frame hanger and things like that. But there's just so much on the internet too. Mm-hmm. To get yourself going.
Now, you mentioned something about winterizing the bees. What is the best time of year? Say, I want to get into beekeeping. What's the best time of year to start so you can maybe get a harvest yield of honey? Yeah,
for sure. So in the first year, you typically we recommend that you don't harvest any honey in the first years because, the bees eat their honey and they'll be stronger going into the winter. so that you can, in your second year, definitely have like a healthy amount, because a beehive can produce up to 80 pounds of honey in a year, which between two hives, I believe, so about 40. And we recommend having two hives so you can, compare against one another and, keep the hives healthy. And typically, if you're first year beekeeper and you're just getting into it, we recommend December. Really, like, start getting organized, get your equipment, because with the maple trees start blooming around February, end of February, beginning of March now, and the bees are going to be on their way, and you need to order your bees by then.
What kind of bees? What type of bees do you work with?
Yeah, so there's different varieties, and bees are not honeybees that we have are not native to North America. So the bees varieties that you'll usually purchase are Italian bees or Russian bees. There are some other varieties, but Italian bees I think are sometimes nicer than the Russians, because the Russian bees are like very, they have to withstand the cold, right?
Okay.
So they're gonna be strong, and yeah.
Now, are bees very territorial?
In the nectar dearth, yes.
Okay.
So it depends on the season, right? So just like anybody, right? So if you got plenty of food, you're happy, you're healthy. In the springtime, when the nectar's flowing, till about the middle, end of June, July, that's when the things are not flowering so much. They'll start reflowering again in fall. There'll be a fall flow. But, between June to August, they get a little angry.
Okay.
If you're going to mess with them. So, just be prepared for that. But overall, they're really sweet and nice when there's nectar.
All right. Now, when I used to live in New Mexico, some friends and actually a housemate got into beekeeping. So I got to see a little bit. He was always worried about mites and spiders intruding into the hive. Talk to me about like some of the things you look out for, preventative measures you want to take.
Yeah, so at the Honey Collective, we really encourage treating for varroa mites, and those are the mites that will, they're very they'll decimate your whole population if you don't treat them. The spiders, or we have wax moths here, or even kind of earwigs will also kind of get into your hives. The best way to get rid of that, or hive beetles, right, is to put them in full sunlight. Some folks will want to put them hey, I'll put them underneath this tree. It's like, no, the bees want it hot. And then the other thing you can do, right, is just make sure that you keep enough honey on your hive and not extract all of it, because they'll be stronger to ward off the pests themselves.
Okay, so I want to talk about honey, because some folks listening, they may think to themselves, honey is honey. What's so special about it? Is it that simple, Gretchen? No, we at the Honey Collective really believe that good honey comes from regenerative apiculture practices. And what that really means is that you're focused on the health of the hive and the surrounding natural ecosystem over pure extraction. So what that means, right, is we leave honey on the hive, a lot of honey on the hive. So about 50% of the honey we leave on the hive, as do all of our members. To ensure that the bees have enough food to feed themselves, because more extractive forms of beekeeping will take all of the honey off the hive and then feed sugar water, which is basically simple syrup. So whatever you're putting in your cocktail, right, or that is what folks are feeding. Supplementary, right, as an alternative to leaving some on the hive. So we truly think at the Honey Collective and know, right, that our honey tastes different. Our customers tell us that, right, because there's not any artificial sugar in it at all. People put artificial sugars in their honey?
Well, the simple sugar, right? So they're consuming it and making it, and that is an artificial, right, honey. Another honey that you see, in the store, really, and why farmers markets are so important, is that a lot of it can be corn syrup. So honey is one of the most fraudulent foods in the world, next to saffron or olive oil, for example. So checking the ingredients list is important.
Okay. Now, talk to me about the partnership that the Honey Collective has with farmers, local farmers like Michael.
Yeah, actually, I'm so happy to see you here, Michael.
Likewise, Gretchen.
Because I was like, oh my God, Una Acre. Because we actually have hives at Una Acre Farms and take care of them in partnership. They let us, right, like, quote unquote, rent, I guess, your land, right? And like, in effect, right, that we're helping supply healthy pollinators for the farm, and that in turn we have a place to put our bees that's safe, and y'all are not using pesticides, which is super important for us. Because that it's an insecticide, it kills the bees. And we also have a partnership. So we have our own farm stand here, but at the East Nashville Farmers Market. But we also work with the Sweeter Days Farms in Ashland City, and they take our honey to their farmers market to sell, out that way to, sell our honey at our wholesale rate. As a product that they can also provide their customers as well.
Mm-hmm. Michael, do you care to sing the praises of bees and how it's helped Una Acre Farms?
I mean, excuse me, for any number of reasons, but all of those that have been articulated, they're extremely integral to the entire ecosystem. And so they keep everyone happy. And we're so happy that it's just a synergistic relationship. As said, I mean, when they're happy, our plants are happy. When our plants are happy, they're producing more. And that in turn makes us happy because hopefully the customers are more happy as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, Michael. Now, I understand you brought some of your product here with that's rather exotic. So we're going to play a little game that we like to call
Name That Vegetable!
All right, we're going to name that vegetable. Michael's going to pull out a vegetable, and I'm going to try to guess what it is. There's no parting prizes except a healthy, balanced meal.
Okay, all right, Khalil, what do you think here? I'm going to give it a wave around here and give it a little activity.
Okay, so we're going to look at this. This is a wonderful green vegetable plant. I know it's not fennel. It's long. It's got like springy leaves and what have you. It's not anise. Whoa. I've seen this before and I've eaten it before, but my sister gave it to me. I don't know.
You know, you had it already. It was on the tip of your tongue, and you said it even. It is a fennel. So
fennel.
You weren't far off.
Okay.
I think that these are fun. It's got kind of a proud peacock feather array of the fronds, which are also delicious. You can smell it from here. I don't know if I know the radio listeners can't, but it's very fragrant. That star anise scent and flavoring. You can use this in any number of ways. You can roast them. You can also shave and eat raw, put into a salad. It's amazing. We can also make a potato salad out of this with a mustard dressing.
I've had that.
Use the fronds that add the flavor, right?
Okay.
And just shave in the fennel on top.
All right. Fennel was the first one. What else do you have for us, Michael?
That was easy. I took it easy on you, Khalil.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. I appreciate it. Ooh. All right, now this is a green vegetable. It's got wonderful sprouting leaves that kind of look like turnip green leaves, but it's all sprouting out of this wonderful, huge bulb. Ooh, I have never seen this before. I am gonna guess some sort of like green, turnip mustard green, but I know it's not either one of those.
You're close. It's in sort of a similar family. So this is a kohlrabi.
Kohlrabi?
Yes. A kohlrabi, again, can be eaten and enjoyed roasted. You can also grate it raw and mix it with some I'm just escaping me. Some vinegar and also some apples and make like a little slaw out of them.
Okay. Yeah. What's the taste? Is it sweet, bitter?
It is, especially is how you prepare it. So if you wanted to roast it, it's got a mild flavor. So think of a turnip. Again, you can kind of make it flavored as you cook it.
Awesome. You bring anything else with you, or we get to two?
Those were my two for you.
Awesome. Well, we did well. I was kind of like 1.5, I guess. 1.5 out of 2. That's wonderful. Okay, so, some folks look at these and they wonder, how can I prepare these foods? Michael, you all offer recipes on your websites for some of the foods that you grow, right?
That's true, yeah. And I think that's a wonderful thing about the farmers market, too. At Amqui Station Farmers Market on Sundays, our customers come up and ask that very same question. What is this? For instance, you were really good at, you knew what a fennel was. A lot of people don't know, but they've had it before, right? The fennel finds its way into sausages. It finds its way into other things. And so my wife is able to give them some recipes there in person, and they take some trial and error at it, and they come back the next week and they say, hey, we tried this instead, or hey, we switched it a little bit. And so they actually give us ideas as well. But on our Instagram handle at Una Acre Farm, you can check out, and sometimes we'll post in our stories some recipes. We also have recipes posted on our website at unaacrefarm.com as well.
All right. Now, Gretchen, a lot of people have heard about the shortage of bees. and how their disappearance has potentially devastating impacts on our environment and our ecosystem. If someone is listening, what can they do to help ensure that bees are flourishing? Like, what if they find a hive in a nearby tree or somewhere in their house? What should they do?
Yeah, so we call those feral hives, which I think is like a funny name because I think of feral pigs, and that's not what this is. They will not. They're just hanging out, right? Like that's the place where they chose to live. So I think there are a couple things you can do, like downstream, right? If it's an effort that you've already found a hive and they're hanging out in the tree and they seem fine and they're not bothering your family or your kids or your pets, then feel free to leave them, honestly. If you find a swarm, so that's when there's just like a bundle of bees that just look like they were on a car or something, that's their way of reproducing. So they're trying to find a new place to go. You can call your local beekeeper association, and they have folks called swarm catchers that'll go out and put them in a box and give them a happy home. But if you find something in your house, right, highly recommend, again, reaching out to a local beekeeping association because you'd have to kill them with insecticide. And if you choose to put any insecticide, like all that honey can be salvaged and like used for food. But if you are to put insecticide on them and then call somebody to come get them, all that honey has to get thrown out because it's poisoned, basically. So try to think through steps before you act. Some upstream efforts to, saving pollinators it's yes, both honeybees, but it's also native pollinators where we really encourage folks we come into contact with, and obviously like our members as well, like make sure that you're providing space, like planting native plants, encouraging native pollinator habitats. There's a lot of resources online about that. I think Tennessee Smart Yards also is a great place to go, where there's a lot of educational materials, but also like don't treat your lawns. If you want to plant a clover lawn, awesome. If you still want to have a lawn, just don't spray it, right? Because those insecticides and pesticides are really gonna harm and continue to harm folks. Insects, yeah.
Gretchen Trask is the co-founder of the Honey Collective. She was joined by Michael Bradford, farmer and co-owner of Una Acre Farm. Thanks to you both for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khalil.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll meet up with some folks who shop at local farmers markets to learn why they choose that route to get their produce. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. Today, we're talking about farmers markets. These are the places where you can get fresh produce, meat, snacks, and all sorts of things. Before the break, we met a farmer who sells his wares at a farmer's market. Now let's meet someone who shops at farmers markets and learn why he chooses that place to get his food. Ben Piñon is a patron of the Richland Park Farmers Market. Thank you so much for being with us, Ben.
Thanks, Khalil. I'm particularly excited to be here.
Really excited to have you here. He's also joined by Karen Overton. She's a farmer and owner of Wedge Oak Farm in Lebanon, who sells at the Richland Park Farmers Market. Karen, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for the invitation to participate. I'm glad to be here.
Really glad to have you both. Okay, so Ben, I understand that you love farmers markets. That's with a big L. Tell me why.
Well, I think farmers markets it's just a celebration of food, of course, and food is so important to everybody, if you ask me, but to my life in particular, food has been so central. I grew up in a family where it was family dinner every night of the week, friends and extended family coming over all the time, and everything was always shared over food, so it just feels really great to gather around that, to have the community come together and just share fun, vibrant time all around what's growing at the time.
Okay, take me back in the past. What was the first farmer's market you ever went to, and what was that experience like for you?
I don't know if I remember exactly the first, but one that kind of the earliest one that's memorable to me. I went to college in upstate New York, and this was in Ithaca, New York, and I went to the farmer's market over there, and it was just, again, such an enriching experience. It was right next to the lake in this big pavilion, and I don't think I'd ever seen that many vegetables stacked up like that. Big, vibrant colors. People just smiles on their faces, sun shining. It was just really great memories.
The way it smelled, it was like a bath for the senses, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
What is it about shopping at farmers markets that you really can't get at your local grocery store?
Sure. I think there's a community aspect to it that you can't get at a traditional grocery store, major corporate entity. We just had some farmers in here, and we got another farmer here with us right now. These people, Michael told his story how it was a lifestyle decision. They're not in this to get rich. They're in this because they care about what they produce. They care about the people they produce it for. You just can't get that at the grocery store.
Now, Karen, you sell at Richland Park, as I mentioned. Have you seen Ben around?
I'm not sure. There are so many people that shop at our farmers market, and there are so many enthusiasts. So I hope so. I hope I've seen him. I am often kind of at stationed at my table and at my market booth. So I hope I've seen him.
We're going to make sure Ben's.
I'll make sure to visit.
Yeah, okay. We're going to make sure you.
I'll be there Saturday.
Karen, tell us about what do you sell at your booth?
Well, so at Wedge Oak, I grow pastured poultry, including eggs and duck eggs, chicken eggs, and then raise meat chickens on pasture. Also raise hogs on pasture and grass-fed beef. So at the farmers market, we sell all of those products butchered in our commercial kitchen. I petitioned the state in 2014 actually, to be permitted to do our butchery. And so it has really changed what we have available, including a whole line of sausages and other value-added products.
Now, did you know?
And go ahead.
Did you know much about raising livestock and animal husbandry?
I didn't. I had two other careers prior to farming, and I too just jumped in and started reading and talking to other people about it, about how they did things, and kind of took bits and pieces from a variety of places and utilized it on the property that on our Century Farm in Lebanon, kind of to suit the environment that we have there and the equipment and whatnot. So it was kind of a steep learning curve for me. And also with the commercial kitchen, I had worked in kitchens for years, but had never butchered or made sausages until 2014.
So you're actually finding out how the sausage is made.
Yes, I actually make quite a bit of sausage, and have enjoyed learning that. I think one of the things about farming that's so wonderful is that there are so many different aspects about it. It's kind of like the Tennessee weather. If you don't like it right now, don't worry, because you'll be doing something else in 10 minutes. You're from all of the regular business aspects of it to the animal husbandry. And, for me, it's also utilizing USDA inspected processors that I schedule with, and, getting feed and for all of my livestock that does eat feed. And then, some of them are grass fed. So, and maintaining rotations and trying to maintain the property. And so it's quite a a variety of tasks, actually.
I was curious about asking you what the major challenges of raising livestock and selling the meat they produce are.
Well, I think, I think it's hard for people to kind of put their mind around the fact that I get about raising an animal and then killing it and then eating it. I feel as if the animal has a great life and is well cared for. We really foster that in our livestock, and then hope that that it shines through in the product that people eat. And I think it does. I get told by people that it does, that that our chicken is better than the average chicken, and also sell at restaurants, and the chefs there say much of the same. So that's a positive, but there's a lot of hands-on work. These things don't get taken care of, without people on the ground to do it. And so you have to make sure that the people that are there to help you are also on the same page and, have the same, are compelled to care for the livestock in the same way that I'm trying to, that I can feel good about and feel good about the product that we sell at the market, as well as to restaurants that we sell to.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host, Khalil Ekalona. We're talking this hour about farmers markets. My guests are Karen Overton and Ben Piñon. Now, Karen, I understand that you're a vegetarian, right?
No, I used to be a vegetarian.
Okay.
And so when I started farming, when I learned to cook, I was a vegetarian. So my repertoire of recipes was very limited. I didn't know how to cook meat. And one of the things that scared me about going to farmers markets was having people ask me how to cook pork chops or whole chicken or whatnot, because it wasn't something that I was super familiar with. Of course, now, I do know how to do those things quite well, or I think so. And I love talking to people at the market about how they, plan to prepare their food that they purchase from us. And it's one of the fun things that also changes with the seasons because of the vegetable producers and the other products that are made locally that are at the market that people can, gather to make one meal or feed their family or their friends.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned other products, and Ben, there's more than just produce or meat one can buy at the farmer's market. Tell me about some of the prepared foods one can purchase there.
Oh, yeah. I love going. I go every Saturday just about to the Richland Park Farmers Market. And I think some of the vendors selling those prepared foods, just really, really good products and fun things, whether it's to take home or to enjoy at the market.
Well, what are some of your favorites?
Yeah. Oh, my absolute favorite is one called Belchas Bakehouse. And it's a guy who makes sourdough bread, just some of the most incredible bread you've ever had. And you got to get there early because he will sell out. Mm-hmm. There's a couple, let's see, The Horn, which they have a brick and mortar as well, but they sell sambusas, which are these pastries from East Africa that are filled with meat, or they make a lentil, or no, I'm confusing them with something else. But they do a breakfast one too that I often get. That's got egg and cheese. That's really good. Though I was confusing them with Kuya, which does Jamaican patties, which are
oh wow, I know about those.
Oh yeah,
those are pretty. So you make it a ritual to go to the farmers market every Saturday. Do you bring folks with you, or is it a solo mission?
Sometimes one, sometimes the other. Actually, this coming weekend, I got a couple friends that are coming in town. And they were like, well, what are we going to do over the weekend? I said, well, I have one thing planned for us that we can figure out the rest. I often like to, when I can, invite some friends. I have some really good memories. I'm thinking of a time last summer where I brought two friends. We went and just couple things from one vendor, couple things from another, and we brought it back to my house and we made a brunch. And so it's just a really fun experience. To me, food. And the farmer's market is such a good example of this. I mean, food is just a celebration of being alive. It's something that we share with other people. eating is the one thing that every single human being on this earth has to do, or else we wouldn't be here.
That's right. That's right. Now, Karen, I understand the farm you run has been in your family for over 100 years. Can you give us the history of Wedge Oak Farm?
Well, I can. The history is fantastic. My mother's family, my mother's Ann Turner Overton, and her family bought the property in 1904. And we have had the property we are a designated century farm, which means it has been in production. Her family lived there for years. And when I was growing up, my grandparents lived there. And then in the late 80s, my parents moved to the farm. So it has been in our family. It's been a huge part of my life. And it's just been a steady place that's always been a place that we could call home, all of my siblings and other family. And so it's been really great to be able to have a business there and to utilize it. I think, if a farm is a thing that if you don't use, and the property, if you don't use, things deteriorate. And so it's great to have it in use, and it's a place that we hope to continue to utilize in different ways with events and utilizing the commercial kitchen and to continue to move it into the future as a kind of as a community member is the way I like to look at it, because I feel like with a farm, it has to be part of the community and the local people have to support it, or else it's almost it's so much right now to try to to maintain small farms with the methods of farming that I'm doing, without bringing in some of those aspects and bringing other people into play with the events and the community valuing it.
Well, let me ask you this one last question. What do you want people to understand? Like, aside from the misconceptions they may have about farming, what do you want them to understand about the importance of farming, particularly the local farming that you're doing?
Well, there are so many important things, Khalil. I really feel like it's important for people to support their local economy. I think it's important that people realize that farmland is disappearing very quickly in Tennessee, especially, and the Department of Ag has statistics on how quickly, and it's kind of frightening. So if you like seeing your farmland and you like being able to take a drive in the country, then support the local farmers that are working hard to grow your food or grow products that you can purchase. Your wallet is a huge supporter for people that are coming to those farmers markets or trying to sell things off of their farms. And so that's one of the things that's so fun about the farmers market for me, is that the community really embraces us, and they really appreciate what we do, and they tell us that on Saturdays at Richland Park. And it's kind of a lot. Oftentimes, it's a kind of a bolstering point that kind of makes you feel like you can make it through another week and keep moving and be happy with what you're doing.
Helps you get up before dawn, I imagine. Much easier.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. It makes packing for the farmers market all day on Friday for us seem like not such a daunting task, because we know that people will come and really enjoy and like our products and tell us that.
That's really awesome.
Karen, did you buy?
Yeah.
Did you bring? Did you ever do ducks or chickens around Thanksgiving, or turkeys around Thanksgiving?
I did. Did you?
Okay, I bought a duck, I think, from you.
Okay, super. Yeah, I grow farm-raised Pekin duck. And they are robust, and the ducks are really fun to raise because we like to sit in the yard and watch them. They wander and I call it doodle bugging, but they're actually, finding insects and bugs to eat. So they roam around the farm. But the pecans are definitely a special product.
Yeah, so I'm sure,
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. I'm sure we did meet then.
Okay, that's really wonderful. Piñon is going to stick around. We're going to go take one last break. When we come back, we'll learn more about the role farmers markets play in our city and ask how they can help fill the needs of food deserts. You can always join the conversation by tweeting us at This Is Nashville. We'll be right back. I'm Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. Today, the conversation is all about farmers markets, a local alternative to big box grocery stores. They're a great way to get fresh local goods, but does everyone have access to farmers markets? Are they too expensive to a majority of Nashvillians? My next guest is here to share her thoughts. Patricia Tarquino is the Director of Community Agriculture for the Nashville Food Project. Patricia, thanks for being with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Khalil.
Really appreciate you being here. Okay, tell us about the Nashville Food Project. What are some of the programs you all run?
Absolutely. So our three pillars are grow, cook, and share. I'm over the grow part. I'm one of a few directors of the grow department. We have 3 garden sites growing together, which is out of Haywood Lane. We have a community garden at Mill Ridge, which is in Antioch, and one in North Nashville at the Magruder Community Center. And so we are having the ability to have access. We're providing the ability to have access to land and to knowledge and to, grow together, to learn how to be reconnected with the land and with the growing process.
How do those programs interact with existing farmers markets in town?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. So right now, Growing Together is our market garden. We have an acre behind a church on Haywood Lane, and they produce over 35,000 pounds of food in 1 acre.
Wow.
So the folks that are the growers, they arrived to the U.S. as refugees from Burma and Bhutan. And so they have an agricultural background. And they are utilizing every inch of space of that 1 acre. Mm-hmm. And they're growing to sell in CSA shares. So our Growing Together garden has a CSA program. We also share the abundance through wholesale. We've got some restaurants and some wholesalers that come and purchase from us. And this year, actually this Saturday, we've got a farmer from the Nashville Farmers Market, Hill and Hollow Farm, that's also going to purchase from our Growing Together garden and resell at the farmers market.
Okay.
The goal is to have, the space at the market, at the Nashville Farmers Market, next year. So it's like a soft opening to, get our growers to have a customer base, at the Nashville Farmers Market. And we're still trying to iron out a lot of the difficulties, a lot of the barriers that keeps us from being there, like transportation, interpretation, some business skills. There are a lot of challenges, that, local growers might face. We have to have insurance. We have to have enough capital, to be able to pay the market fee every month. Mm-hmm. So these are all things that we are ironing out, that we've got to figure out. But, partnering up with, Hill and Hollow Farm is a way to get our name out there, to get, interact with customers, to sell the abundance of this wonderful food that's being grown there.
Okay, now speaking about that, you mentioned that you all take part in CSA programs. Can you explain for listeners what a CSA program is?
Absolutely. It's a community shared agriculture program. So you sign up, I buy a share. It's either a half or a whole share for a certain amount of money. And every week I go, it's delivered, or I go to a delivery spot and I pick up what's in harvest that week. So it could be, kale, lettuce, beets, garlic, whatever's in season. So I have the opportunity to grow and and eat what's being grown in season.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, Ben Piñon is still with us. Ben, I understand you volunteer at one of the community gardens, the Magruder Community Garden in North Nashville. Tell me, what made you want to volunteer there?
Yeah, I wanted to be involved in a garden project, and honestly, I live over in East Nashville, and I really couldn't find one. And then I ended up I had heard of the Nashville Food Project doing great work, and I found that they were doing a garden at Magruder. Started volunteering with them regularly last year. So this is my second season now, and I love it. I wouldn't go anywhere else.
What are you all growing there?
Oh man, everything you could think of: tomatoes, basil, squash, collard, corn, okra, watermelon, butternut squash. I mean, just like anything you can think of.
That's something. So it makes you feel more connected to community doing that.
Absolutely. We have a few work days. There's 3 different work days throughout the week. What I really actually love about this particular community garden, a lot of community gardens work where you get a plot of your own, and everybody else gets their own plot, and you all garden next to each other. And what I love about Magruder is that it's one shared space.
Okay.
So all of us help tend the whole thing, and there's way more produce to go around than any of us individuals could use. So there isn't an issue about quantity. It's a really fun thing to do as a community. Plenty to go around.
Now, Patricia, you're also on the board of the Cosecha Community Development. Tell me, what does Cosecha do?
Yeah, so Cosecha Community Development. Cosecha in Spanish means harvest. And so our organization is to gather neighbors together and foster community. It's right there on the corner of Nolensville Pike and Thompson Lane. So it's serving that 2-mile radius where Witsa Elementary, right middle, and the Wick Woodbine Health Clinic is located. And so we have community gardens in those 3 sites that help foster community, that help grow food locally. We also have a Cosecha language school that's run by Voces de Nashville, which is a cooperative. And we also have a community market. It's a pop-up market. It starts Wednesday, May 29th, and it goes bi-weekly until September 4th. And so we will also feature produce grown at the Growing Together garden. So that's another market outlet.
That could be considered a farmer's market, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great space for people to access, locally sourced food and to learn how to use that food, consume that food. We'll have, cooking demos. It's also a great way for aspiring local businesses to launch their businesses. We've had businesses that have sold pastries, empanadas, we are able to celebrate culture and get together and get to know our neighbors and eat healthy. It's a wonderful spot. It's right off of Nolensville Pike.
Okay, I only have a couple minutes left. I do want to get into food justice briefly. Let me ask you this. What is food justice? And in your view, are Nashville's farmers markets contributing or detracting from food justice?
I think that we need to revisit farm stands. I think we need to think about pop-up markets. I think, if we don't have access to land, if we don't have the know-how how to grow our own food, then how is food just, right? If we can't feed ourselves, how can we participate in society? So I really think that rethinking local markets, rethinking the sharing abundance. We're all learning how to grow food either in containers or in our backyards, in a collective community gardens. We need to be able to have an opportunity to share that abundance and to be able to earn money, from that to sustain our families, to sustain ourselves.
Ben, what do you want people to leave this conversation with?
Just to remind people that food is a celebration of life. For so much of human history, people spent the vast majority of their time either growing, collecting, or cooking, preparing food. And the technological advances we've had over, a millennia are great for so many reasons. But I see in the world a little bit of a disconnect that's grown between people and their food. So I want people to take that, whether it's farmers markets, buying from a farm stand, being involved in a community garden, involved in projects like the Nashville Food Project. It's a celebration of who we can all be and how we can gather around food.
I want to thank my guests. Patricia Tarquino, she's the Director of Community Agriculture for the Nashville Food Project, and Ben Piñon, a frequent attendee at the Richland Park Farmers Market. I want to thank you both for being here, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, Clay.
Thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Magnolia McKay. Now listen, y'all, it's her last episode, and we're going to miss her for all the great work she's done, and more importantly, for the amazing person she is. We love you, Maggie. Thank you. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley. Our technical director and board operator is Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are LaRange and Namir Blade. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. And the conversation doesn't end here. Tweet us at This Is Nashville. Find us on Instagram. Tell us what you want from our show by filling out our quick survey online. Or you can call us and leave us a message at 615-760-2000. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil Ekalona. We'll see you on Monday, everybody. And be good to each other.